What is up, Who Dat Nation? Once again, it's Christmas Voglu from the Straight Up Saints podcast presented by Boot Crew Media. And the Saints have made what appears to be right now their final pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, and it is defensive tackle Jordan Jackson out of Air Force. Now, I know a lot of people were wondering, what can this pick be? When you take first off, when you take a guy late in the draft like this, you're kind of just throwing darts and hoping some of them stick. And I will say, if you're gonna throw darts and hope that they stick, this isn't a bad dart to throw. You're looking at a player who, frame wise, he's got exactly what you want from a defensive tackle. 6'4", 294 pounds. I believe it was a 4.95 40. So the athleticism's there in the high nines for the relative athletic score, which again, something the Saints love to use. And the thing that I like about Jackson is that you are going to get a defensive tackle with pass rushing ability from the interior. And I think that's really important because one thing for the Saints, at least the way I feel, is under Dennis Allen, we've seen them be consistently good on defense, right? And I don't think that's something that I'm going to worry about moving forward, especially now that he's the head coach. But I feel like the defense is at their best with two things. One is when Marshawn Lattimore's on his game. That's no question. When Marshawn Lattimore's locking up the number one receiver on another team, you see the Saints play at an elite level. But the other thing is when they're getting pressure from the interior of the offensive line. When they start to do that, I think that's when you just see them at their best. And I'm thinking of moments when they collapse the pocket on Tom Brady, whether it's Cam Jordan making pressure on the inside or David Onyemata. That's when they really are elite. So if you can add a prospect in Jordan Jackson, will get to work with the coach in Ryan Nielsen, who's done a marvelous job in terms of developing defensive linemen and getting the best out of them. I think there is a lot to like there, especially when you go and look at the fact that Jordan Jackson, when he was healthy and able to play for Air Force, you're talking about a player that was able to create pressure. And if you look at just the overall numbers from the 2021 season, you're talking about a player who did have 6 sacks, who did have 11 tackles for loss. And those are numbers that, look, are you going to be able to translate that to the pros in day one? Absolutely not. But could he become a potential role player and work his way up? I think so, because one thing that has, I'm not going to say bothered me, but one thing I've found really weird the last couple of years is I feel like the Saints have treated defensive tackle ever since Sheldon Rankins' pick as we'll handle it on the undrafted free agent market. And you know what? Sometimes it works, right? Like Malcolm Roach was okay. And obviously we all love Shy Tuttle for the fact that he stiff arm Matt Ryan into oblivion. But why not use the 194th pick and get a guy in Jordan Jackson? This way you don't have to worry about, is he going to be available when he's if he's an undrafted free agent? And even if he is, will he want to sign with us? Go out and get your guy if you believe he might be your guy. And this goes back to the point I made when they just drafted DeMarco Jackson about an hour ago. Dennis Allen's your head coach now. He's going to want to bring in new players, kind of lighten it up, get it a little bit younger for the roster. So you look at what they've done now. It's one on the defensive line in Jordan Jackson, one in the linebacker core with DeMarco Jackson. So 2 Jacksons going to the team, and then Alontae Taylor on the back end out of Tennessee. So to kind of recap it all together, and obviously I will have a full podcast on this talking about what the Saints have done, but I'm going to wait for the undrafted players to get signed first and see what they do there, because I still think they have holes at running back, maybe another need at receiver. So we'll see what happens there. But overall, the haul is going to be Chris Olave, Trevor Penning, Alontae Taylor, DeMarco Jackson, and Jordan Jackson. A lot of diversity in terms of position needs. I have no issue with that. Only time's going to tell the story as to whether or not these guys develop. But when I look at Jordan Jackson, I'm looking at a defensive tackle who gets off the ball extremely quick. I don't know if you can necessarily teach that. That's just a instinct / speed that you have off the snap, and he will get pressure. Whether or not that all culminates into a defensive tackle that makes an impact year one, we do not know. But again, if he is your guy and you're trying to give Coach Nielsen another weapon, I would say another toy to use in that defensive line, why not? The Saints already have a good unit on defensive line, and they could use a little bit more help on defensive tackle. Maybe Jordan Jackson's the missing piece. So we'll figure out all that this upcoming summer, the preseason, and obviously the regular season. But that's going to wrap it up for the Saints draft as of now. They could always trade back into the 7th round, although they might just want to wait it out to the undrafted market, but we'll see what happens there. If that's the case, 5 players joining the Saints as of now, and more will soon to join, whether it's undrafted or maybe going after a free agent like a Tyrann Mathieu. So we'll see what happens, guys. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with the results that we've gotten. It's a new era for the New Orleans Saints, and whether or not that new era starts on the right foot, time will tell. But I appreciate you guys checking out all the videos that I've had this week. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate the comments you guys left. I've gone through all of them, and I can't wait to kind of dive into what these players might bring to the Saints in more depth later next week.